29 from Canto 1, Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhismadeva. Dharmam pravadatastasya sakala pratyupashtitaha ya yoginas chandramrityor vachindas tuttarayanaha. Uttarayanaha. That's the period when the sun runs in the northern horizon. That's when he's going to depart. While Bhismadeva was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. Purport. The perfect yogis or mystics can leave the material body at their own sweet will at a suitable time and go to a suitable planet desired by them. In the Bhagavad Gita 8:24, it is said that these self-realized souls who have exactly identified themselves with the interest of the Supreme Lord can generally leave the material body during the time of the fire god's effulgence, and when the sun is in the northern horizon, and thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body, and they are taken advantage of by expert mystics who have perfected the system. I think I skipped a verse. I skipped 28. I'll just keep going. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such super mental states as to be able to leave the material body as desired. The yogis can also reach any planet within no time without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a very short time, and this is impossible for the materialist. Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at a speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science, and Bhismadeva knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and the golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandson, the Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Sri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages, headed by Bhagavan Vyasa, etc., all great souls. Now the verse that I skipped was the one that was really short. I just got ahead of myself. Text 28. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. And the short purport, that was what I was mentioning. Incidents mentioned in the Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, are factual historical narrations that took place sometime in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were assorted without chronological reference. Besides that, they happen on different planets, nay, in different universes, and thus the description of the narrations is sometimes measured by 3 dimensions. figure what that means. Sometimes measured by 3 dimensions, as opposed to, I guess, linear. There's other dimensions going on. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhismadeva describes such narrations before Maharaj Yudhisthira in reply to his different questions. There's several times in this short purport, as short as it is, the absence of chronology is emphasized, and that it's not important. What's important is the lesson, not the chronology. An understanding that I have learned about one distinction between the Puranas and the Itihasas is the 2 Itihasas, specifically Ramayana and Mahabharata, they are chronological. Now, there's references in the course of that chronological narration of things that happened in the past, and there's a non-chronological, but like the final section of Ramayana is a very elaborate description of things that happened in the past, details and details and details. But the main storyline follows, and even where those narrations are told, it follows the chronology. And in that particular passage, something from the past is narrated, just like we read from Mahabharata, where Vidura is referring to something that happened long ago with Prahlad Maharaj. But it's in the context of something that's happening chronologically. And in any case, the importance is the lessons to be learned. And it's repeated multiple times in the past several verses that these are instruction for ordinary people. Ordinary people meaning people that are not capable or qualified or inclined to become very serious scholars or studiers of Vedic text, because while on the one hand our interest in hearing scriptures is the topmost scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, and its introductory Bhagavad Gita, which scholars also know. But the details and details and details and details and details of other literatures is a little beyond our scope. For example, something that's mentioned here in the purport of the Uttarayana, or the sun moving in the northerly direction, the reference is made in the purport to Bhagavad Gita 8:24, and in Prabhupada's purport in 8:24, he doesn't even mention where the reference is from, but it's from it's in Baladev Vidyabhusan's purport or commentary from the Chandogya Upanishad of the yogis that have the capacity to leave at will. And then there's a very detailed sequence. I mean, what Prabhupada writes here is the fiery gods, the fire god, and if you remember from earlier verses in chapter 2 of Canto 2, there is mention of the yogis who are very qualified can go to the spiritual world, passing again through the certain fire planets. So the Chandogya Upanishad gives details, and here is only lightly inferred. There, and the Chandogya Upanishad details The god of fire passes on to the god of wind passes on to the god of the god of the sun passes on to another, and it just keeps going and going and going. These are for persons who know Brahman, and they're yogis, and they have a certain qualification to enter into the spiritual sky. And there's a procedure for them. And they know the science. Now, people today don't have that. And it's a little puzzling in one sense, at least for me, it's a little puzzling, why Bhismadeva followed a process that yogis follow. Because he's a pure devotee. He's a pure devotee that can leave whenever he wants, and what he wants is to leave with his mind absorbed in Krishna. So he doesn't need to go in that auspicious time. So it's, as far as I understand, fantastic. This is Makara Sankranti. Now, Makara Sankranti is a day, my understanding can very well be wrong. My understanding is it's a calculation by solar calendar. And from the time the Bhagavad Gita took place, Gita Jayanti, the speaking of Bhagavad Gita, was on a lunar day, and then 18 days battle, and then the battle was over, and then ceremonies for the funerals for the deceased so many soldiers, and the installing of Maharaj Yudhisthira on the throne, and all of that happened in between when the Gita was spoken and then so Gita Jayanti date and Makara Sankranti. So when Makara Sankranti came, that marks the movement of the sun heading in the northerly direction. It says the northern horizon, and that may be another way of saying in the northerly direction. But for those in the northern hemisphere, the sun moves heading in it from from the north to the south, and going all the way down to the bottom of its cycle, and then starts heading in January, heading in the northerly direction, so that the days for those in the northern hemisphere, they start to get longer, the nights start to get shorter, to the point where it's at, so the summer solstice and the winter solstice, or Makara Sankranti, and the change when the sun starts to move in the southerly direction. So that marks the date when Bhismadeva was passing. So one could, and Makara Sankranti honor, among other things, grandfather's Bhishma's passing. It's one of the events to be honored on Makara Sankranti. Many things happen on that date. Many things. So he doesn't need to do what yogis do, because he's a pure devotee. He's going back to God in any case. But he's like many things. He knows many things, and he's showing by example many things. And this is one of those many things. It seems that kings during his time, they knew all these arts, mystic arts, like Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was whatever he was, a blind king by vision and blind by his attachment to his son. But when Vidura hammered him after coming back from hearing Krishna speaking and hearing Markandeya Rishi explain in detail the lessons that he learned from him. He became very qualified spiritually. Then he went back to Hastinapur to deliver Dhritarashtra, and he pulled him to the side in a private place and let him have it. And with that, Dhritarashtra went to the forest, and in mystic trance, so he was capable. His concentration was so intense, didn't take matches in a Zippo lighter. His body just burst into flames, and Gandhari entered also. So, kings had these skills, not only military skills and Puranic and Itihasa wisdom, but they had mystic skills. So Bhismadeva didn't need to use that. He didn't need to use that, but he used it for some reason, perhaps to show by example. This is what a great soul does. They wait for the auspicious time, and they leave their body when it's an auspicious time, and they go to the auspicious places. Now, mentioned here, it came up in our discussion earlier today, that some yogis have the capacity to do astral travel, and they can go here and there, or some can go in their same body and go here and there. Like Durvasa Muni, who's capable to go here and there in his body. He didn't leave his body. So there's subtle powers and wisdom that very elevated persons have access to that we don't. The necessity of being able to control the mind and senses is fundamental, and that's a good starting place for most of us. And our best means, our best shot at it, is the bhakti process, because the power, the spiritualizing power of bhakti, meaning the force that comes by Krishna's protection for those who are striving with some consistency and regularity to serve him and please him, they're given facilities that other people don't have access to, like these great souls. I mean, particularly Bhismadeva. And they knew the science, they had the strength, they could exercise that strength, and following the rules and the principles. I meant to bring Baladev's commentary, but it says that he gives the text of the Chandogya Upanishad, and it shows from this ruling demigod to that ruling demigod to that ruling demigod, and they usher him to higher realms. Oh, you have it here. Look at that. Okay. Thank you. This is the translation from Chandogya. Undying such persons, whether they undergo cremation rites or not, go directly to the deity of light. Remember we met in the Canto 2, the Archie deities? Remember? From the deity of light, they go to the deity of the day. From the deity of the day, they go to the deity of the waxing fortnight. From the deity of the waxing fortnight, they go to the deity of the 6 months, leading to the summer solstice. From there, they go to the deity of the year. From the deity of the year, they go to the deity of the sun, then to the deity of the moon, then to the deity of lightning. A non-human form takes them to Brahman. This is the path of the Devas, the path of Brahman. Those who go by this path do not return to repeated human birth. And he gives his, whoop, something just went away. Help. It just disappeared. How do you get it back? Come on back. Come on. This one? No, no. Is that it? Because you can say that the meaning is this. Okay. The meaning is this. This is Baladev's commentary. I think it's Baladev's commentary to 824. When persons who worship Brahman, situated in the eye, that is, the Chandogya described Brahman as the person dwelling in the eye, when they die, whether their sons or disciples perform cremation rites or not, in either case, because of their uninterrupted worship, those worshippers go to their object of worship by means of the deities, starting with the deity of the light. The rest is clear. Between the deity of the year and the deity of the sun, the deity of air should also be inserted. Following the deity of lightning, there should be inserted the deity of water, Indra and Brahma. From other Shrutis, these details of the path are understood. The non-human mentioned in the verse refers to an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord, Shui. Therefore, the devotees go to the Lord by the path served by 12 devatas. And that's all these ones that were mentioned: light, day, waxing, fortnight, 6 months, leading to the summer solstice, etc. Who are following the orders of the Lord. They do not return to the material world. So now this is a mystical method of not returning. So Bhishma is not going to return. Bhishma is not going to return. This is the Bhagavatam's explanation. And Mahabharat's explanation might be the same, might be different. My guess is it's different. My guess is he rejoins his brothers in Vasuland, in the heavenly realm. Yes? You're acknowledging? Yeah. But of course, Bhismadeva is a pure devotee, so that's where he's going. Spiritual world. So he doesn't need this mechanical method, but we're learning it from him. We're learning of it from him, and he's following the procedure. So that the upcoming verses, he does what yogis do. He withdraws his senses because he's been engaging his senses in service. That's what devotees are supposed to do. Extend the senses into the field of the objects of the senses and engage in service to the Supreme Lord with your senses, engaging with the objects of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Bhakti Ruchate. But he's demonstrating this yoga process where he is withdrawing his senses. And withdrawing his senses is not like what Mahaprabhu did when his limbs became withdrawn within his body. It means the subtle senses. The subtle senses, pratyahara, is the subtle senses are withdrawn from their interaction with the world. Just reading something before coming here, in preparation for a japa retreat. maybe you recall Pran Govinda was mentioning Madhusudana Saraswati was the teacher who taught Jiva Goswami. After meeting with Lord Nityananda, Jiva Goswami wanted to go straight to Puri and be with Mahaprabhu. And Nityananda said, go to Vrindavan and be with Rupa and Sanatan. Before you go to be with Rupa and Sanatan, go to Benares and study under Madhusudana Vachaspati. Madhusudana Vachaspati was a student of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, or disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he went. He lived there for a number of years. So Madhusudana Vachaspati, or sometimes Madhusudana Saraswati, he wrote books. Remember, Pran Govinda mentioned he wrote something about the Patanjali Yoga system. In the Patanjali Yoga system, if you recall, those who are followers of Patanjali Yoga, they have this idea that the body of the Lord is real and they want to merge with the body of the Lord. Remember that one? That's their, it's like not nice. That's their idea. It's a reference from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya objecting to the word mukti pade sadayabhak. He didn't like the word mukti because people think of merging. And then there's two kinds, and one is merging in the body, and that's where Prabhupada mentions the Patanjali Yoga. So Madhusudana Saraswati made commentary on Patanjali's system, and Madhusudana Vachaspati made commentary on Bhagavad Gita. I didn't see a translation of it, I just know a section of it where he's commenting on this verse, 824 from Bhagavad Gita, and explaining that the purpose of yoga, according to Patanjali, is to bring the mind to complete stillness. And then in that complete stillness, there's stages. To reach there's stages in the yoga practice. We say yoga, often thinks of the physical yoga, but it's the process of meditation. Patanjali Yoga is leading to that stage where pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. And then in that stage of samadhi, that's what Patanjali Yoga Sutras are teaching. So all of that it's directly related to this verse in that for yogis to do what is being described here, they have to have control of their mind. They can't be distracted. You can't be successful in yoga if your mind is... You can't be successful in bhakti yoga if your mind is distracted. And whose mind is not distracted? So to become successful, it requires not becoming a follower of Patanjali Yoga, but the principles, because Madhusudana Vachaspati was a devotee. And he trained Jiva Goswami not only in the science of devotion, but he trained him in all of the other darshans, the other teachings, so that by the time Jiva Goswami went to Vrindavan to learn from Rupa Goswami, he knew all the counter-arguments, or the counter-positions. You follow? Those that say blah, blah, blah speak like this. Those that say the other thing speak like this. And he knew what they had to say, and he knew the counter-arguments to what they have to say. That's what Madhusudana Vachaspati trained him in. Then he received the highest teachings of bhakti from Rupa. But the foundational teachings, and Jiva began his commentary, it's said about his life, he began his commentaries even while he was in Benares. He was a celebrated scholar, even before he went to Vrindavan. It is said, I've heard this many times, that Benares University has a whole department just dedicated to Jiva Goswami because of his scholarship. And it's like, it's the seat of high learning, Benares University. And there's a whole department just for Jiva, the study of Jiva's writings. Now, there may be people who study Jiva's writings to argue against them. That goes on. This is anecdotal. There was a time when Gopi Pranadana Prabhu was still working on his translation and the commentary, translating the commentary of Baladev Vidyabhusan on Tattva Sandarbha. He hadn't completed it yet, and so he was using as his text Stuart Elkman's text. Stuart Elkman did his PhD on Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha, and two things Gopi remarked. He was a very good scholar. So he was able to separate his own views from what Jiva Goswami wrote. But in his commentary, he also objected to some of the things that Jiva Goswami wrote. And when he finished his PhD, he went to South India and joined the ashram there with the Adi Shankara followers. He became an impersonalist sannyasi. So scholars don't necessarily follow. Even scholars that have integrity enough to represent, at least from Gopi's point of view, Jiva Goswami's writings in terms of what he said. But then he would, in his footnotes, he'd make, I object, this is objectionable because, and this can't be true because, and things like that. So we weren't using that in our study. But, these things go on in the scholarly world where people know the opposing views, points of view, and they try to poke holes in it, back and forth. This goes on. Bhismadeva had the power, not only, both, by the benediction of his father, but also because he was a very capable yogi. Although he was a Kshatriya, he had that capacity to, at will, as some yogis that aren't benedicted by Santanu, they have the capacity to leave their bodies at will and go where they want. Now, there's not a lot of mention about, it touches on it, about going where they want. The main thing is going to the realm of Brahman. That's this Chandogya Upanishad reference. But the personality of Godhead is the goal for devotees, and he used that method. It doesn't mean that we can't go back to Godhead unless we know that method. We're kind of clueless about that method. But we know a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're not obliged to follow that method. So what are we obliged to follow? What's the plan? The plan is the mercy of the personality of Godhead, and to qualify ourselves for the mercy of the personality of Godhead. So as he is going through these steps of pratyahara, etc., he is totally absorbing his mind. It's not to say that his mind was not already absorbed in Krishna thought, but he's winding down his affairs of the material world and absolutely focusing away from the affairs of the material world into the realm of transcendence. And the realm of transcendence includes seeing Krishna's face and seeing in his mind that episode, his encounter with Krishna, that he loved the most. And the beautiful description of Krishna's holding in his hand the broken chariot wheel of Arjuna, with dust from the hooves of the horses covering his face and beads of perspiration coming down his face, and his eyes red like the morning sun, charging, ready to smash Bhishma. That's what he was meditating upon when leaving his body, that form of Krishna. Now that's a particular rasa. 3 things. We heard that his Ishtadev was the 4-armed Lord Narayana. So he's a Vaikunthavasi. We hear earlier, elsewhere it's described, his rasa with Krishna is servitorship, dasya. And we also hear that this secondary rasa of chivalry was what was inspiring him to take this vow that he would kill Arjuna, because he knew Krishna would stop him. And for Krishna to stop him meant that Krishna had to break his vow. And for Krishna to break his vow, because more important to Krishna was protecting his devotee than maintaining his vow, that he wouldn't fight. So that was Bhismadev's intent. He knew Krishna would break his vow, because he knew Krishna would protect his devotee. So he fought so intensely, so focused on killing Arjuna. Krishna would protect him. And sure enough, Krishna, and that was his greatest happiness. That's Krishna showing his Bhakta Vatsala feature to protect Arjuna, more so than keeping his own word. And that was his greatest happiness. And seeing that form of Krishna charging at him with the raised, broken chariot wheel ready to smash him. I mean, that's chivalry. In the mood of service. Not in the mood of confrontation, in the mood of service. It's profound mystery. I mean, who can do something like that? Who could do something like that? Bhishma could do something like that because he knew. How powerful was Bhishma? Bhishma was so powerful that even Parshuram couldn't defeat him. How many days did he fight with Parshuram? 21 days or something like that? How many?
28.
28 days? Parshuram couldn't defeat him. And so a voice came from the sky saying, you can't defeat him. I mean, the explanation was he's a Basu. But Parshuram is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Piece of cake for finishing a Vasu. You can't defeat him because he's a Basu. So he dropped his arms, his weapons. And Bhishma saw him drop his weapons. He came and paid his obeisances. Battle was over. Very powerful. But more powerful than the powerful Bhishma was Arjuna, because Krishna was protecting him. But then later, I mean, these are all things we've heard many times, but later, Arjuna was unable, the scene was after Krishna departed. Before Krishna departed, he told his chariot driver, who was his chariot driver's name? Daruka. Go back, he gave him some service. Go back to Dwarka let them know in Dwarka that the whole city in 1 week is going to be underwater. And Dwarka is must have been a big place. I mean, it's an island. But according to the 10th Canto Bhagavatam, there were not only 16,108 palaces of Krishna. According to the Bhagavatam, there are 900,000 palaces. And 10 quadrillion bodyguards. 10,000 million, billion, trillion, quadrillion bodyguards. 10 quadrillion bodyguards. And their wives and families and everybody else. Dwarka must have been really big. Or at least able to accommodate. There are all these, I'm going off from the purport, but that's okay. The powers of Krishna are inconceivable. There's this nice description in Gopal Champu. When Krishna brought back the Sudharma assembly hall and the Parijata tree and planted it in the courtyard, or had it planted in the courtyard of Satyabhama, this tree was very mystical. At times, the tree stretched its branches over the whole of Dwarka, and at times it could fit in the palm of one's hand. A tree. And the fragrance of the Parijata wafted over the whole of Dwarka. So in 7 days, the city of Dwarka is going to be under the sea. So tell the queens and the remaining personalities there that they should vacate immediately. So that was done, and sure enough, it went under the sea. And then the queens had to be taken to a safe place. So the queens were escorted by Arjuna back to Hastinapur. In the course of traveling from Dwarka back to Hastinapur, there were some cowherd men, and Arjuna was unable to repel the cowherd men. That's told in later part of this first canto, when he comes back to inform Yudhisthira that Krishna has left. He was unable to check even cowherd men, recognizing that the power that Arjuna had was the power that was invested from Krishna for service. And when Krishna withdraws power from Arjuna or us or anybody, then we don't have the power to do service. So the power to do service is invested, the power to do anything. What to speak of the power of Srila Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world like he did. That's the Shaktivesh avatar. He is empowered. It's otherwise not possible. And to whatever degree any one of us can do anything. Anything. Dress the deities or cook the feast or something. Arrange a festival or whatever it is that we may do. Sell some books. Whatever it is that we may do. It's empowerment. And if Krishna doesn't give that empowerment, it's quite okay. It's in his hand to give or to not give, or to give and then withdraw. And then our attentiveness to Krishna has a big factor on empowerment. It's not the only factor. Krishna's will is the main factor. But the empowerment of Krishna to do anything. So same the empowerment of Krishna for grandfather Bhishma to follow the path that he followed was in Krishna's hand, but Krishna wanted it. So Bhismadeva does what Krishna wants because he's a pure devotee. Pure devotees do what Krishna wants. Okay, I guess that means class is over. It's 7 o'clock. Any comments or questions or complaints? We have a portable microphone? Yes? In the back, all the way in the back. All in the. Oh, the sound. You're loud. You can be loud.
When the sun is on the northern horizon,
Krishna.
that's from the equator to the North Pole. It's usually it's called 6 months, and it's called a day of the demigods.
Yeah.
And that is the time all the yogis travel wherever they want to. And when the sun goes to the southern horizon, that's a day of the demons. And no yogis want to travel them, you know. So it makes a lot of sense why Bhishma was waiting until the sun starts to move towards the...
Well, he's got a transcendental pass.
Oh, of course, that's right.
So he didn't have to wait, but he did.
Yeah, as an example, right?
Yeah, so transcendentalists may select auspicious timings for things, but they also may not. Because the transcendentalness is not generated by worldly influences. Now, there's no harm. In fact, it's a good idea to select auspicious timings for things, but it's not, for Bhismadeva, it's not a rule he's obliged to follow. That was my point. But he chose to. Set an example.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Maharaj, you said Krishna's empowerment is proportionate to, maybe use different words, but our attentiveness to him. So I was wondering, just how do we remain attentive to Krishna throughout the day and not just, when you're chanting or when you're reading or arti, just how do we be grateful and attentive to Krishna throughout your day, throughout your life, and never lose that attentiveness?
By being Krishna conscious. That's how to. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So similar line of question, like my ability to be attentive during chanting.
Yes, here we go. This is the how-to.
No, it's actually, does it really also indicates more attentive equal to more self-control in my day-to-day life, not going towards time wasters and things like that?
Yes. Krishna Shakti goes to those who want it. It's available, but Krishna Shakti goes to those who want it. So there's different motivators for wanting. Some is I don't like misery. There's other motivators. But when the motivator for Krishna Shakti is, this is my opportunity, this human form of life is my opportunity for pleasing Krishna. Now, it's nice to say things like that, it's another thing to function like that, but when it starts at the heart level to function like that, then Krishna Shakti is more abundantly, accessible. It's something like, the sun shining, and when there's clouds or there's mist, this is metaphors that our acharyas use, then the light and the heat of the sun are blocked. but the sun is still shining. So when the intent at the heart level to be in my relationship with Krishna is the motivator, the intention, the sankalpa, then and that's consistent to the degree that it's consistent and to the degree that it's strong, the Krishna Shakti is there. Now the empowerment throughout your day, which was her question, the empowerment throughout your day is made possible through this proper, making connection with Krishna Shakti, spiritual strength. And there may be lapses in our effort, or there may be further purifications from Krishna's side to help us get completely squeaky clean. So there can be fluctuations on that path of becoming consistent. So the obstacle is the impurities within. The obstacle is the impurities within. But our accessing Krishna Shakti is dependent upon our desire to access Krishna Shakti for the purpose of being a better instrument of Krishna. Service. Mood. That's bhakti. Then Krishna Shakti comes to such a person. And then it carries on throughout the day, naturally. That's your question, yeah?
Yes, Maharaj. And so the mood during the chanting can be getting empowered too, like.
Well, certainly it can be anything. That's one of the options.
So that is a nice, okay intention to have.
Yeah,
Okay.
but empowered to do what? Empowered to not suffer, or empowered to be a better instrument, or empowered to do what? So you have the consciousness behind is everything, and then the strength of that consciousness is, and the consistency of, or as opposed to the intermittent. In this Madhusudana Vachaspati's commentary on 8.24 Bhagavad Gita, he outlines their 5 stages from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, 5 stages of the mind being absorbed or concentrated. And there's degrees and degrees, and then there's full absorption. So we practice. And then practice at what? So then the bhakti principle, the more it's clear and in focus and consistent, the more you're going to, the closer you are to reach that goal, attaining Krishna's shelter exclusively. There's the answer to your how-to question.
Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your class. So, I know I have asked this question to you that day when you were leaving in the car, that how do I chant lovingly? And you said go for it. So, how do I go for it? And the question is it the sweet voice or is it the intention? And if it's intention, how is it the sweet intention? So, I am confused, how do I chant lovingly?
Well, it's really good to get a picture of who you are.
A picture of what?
Who you are. What is the soul? In its uncovered condition, what is the soul? Who are you? Who are you, anyways? No, you don't. I'm giving you. I'm responding to your question. You need to ask that question, and then you keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. You're part and parcel of Krishna. So, what does that mean? I mean, I don't need to get back and forth right now, but it's your question was how to get to the stage where you're chanting lovingly, and I'm taking you through the exercise. It's introspection and self-examination, because the basis of love is knowing who you are and who is Krishna, and the relationship between you and Krishna, that's who you really are. And when that who you really are and who Krishna really is, and the relationship that's already there but forgotten, it becomes love. Trying to remember the acharya who spoke like this or wrote like this, but it gives the acharya, whose name I can't remember right now, gives the example of the innate attraction for young boy, young girl, and their attraction initially is kind of silly, but in course of time, through association, through service, etc., an attraction may really become very strong. Now, it's in material covering terms, it's very polluted, but it becomes stronger and stronger and becomes a very strong bond. Young boy, young girl. And it's innate. They may not even know each other at some point in time, but that those feelings come. So the feeling of love also comes, but it's not sustainable, it's not durable, it's not who you really are unless you know who you really are and who Krishna really is. So who you really are is, yes, part and parcel of Krishna, but your purpose, that's a nice Latin word, telos, or teleology. Your existence is to love Krishna. And all the other stuff is just coverings. It's not who you really are. And that sometimes people try to, with not having a clear and proper conception of who they are, try to advance in bhakti, and it's just like lots of obstacles, and it never really happens, and they feel frustrated. It's not happening. Or it seems like something's happening and then it disappears. Where did it go? Because it wasn't real, or wasn't who you really are. So it takes a while to get the covering removed and get to who you really are. And when you know who you really are, and thus, it's like that little verse, it's really simple. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha chakvadeham punar janma. You know the verse? Naiti mameti sarjana. So from Krishna's saying, those who know me in truth, Krishna tatvataha, janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti. Veti means to know. Evam yo veti tatvata. Those who know me in truth, no more birth. That sounds like, okay, I can check all the boxes, and this is Krishna, this is me, and this is our relationship, and I checked all the boxes, so I should go back to Godhead, right? No more birth. So it requires going a little more. Who are you, and who is Krishna, and what is that relationship? And how do you realize it besides theoretically knowing it? How do you realize it? Because that's what love is. It's a realization, it's a feeling, it's an affective way of how you live your life, because you're just compelled because of that love for Krishna, with full abandon for hell or high water. You love Krishna. And then you chant in that mood. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. I mean, you deal with other stuff, but nothing else matters. So that's what, when you chant with love. You really, so it's through meaningful service, but you have to start with some fundamental understandings of who you are and who is Krishna, and then act. There's sambandha, then there's abhideya. And you cultivate both progressively. Because my understanding of who I am and my understanding of who Krishna is covered like anything. And I think I know. I know how to say back, I'm Krishna's part and parcel. So there, that's who I am. I'm a conscious entity. Krishna's supreme consciousness. So, we can say things, then how to get to the point of love. We know who we are. And when you know who you are, you're meant for this loving exchange with Krishna. That's who you are. We're meant for serving him. That's who you are. For bringing him pleasure. That's who you are. With love. That's who you are. And he's the lovable. All attractive. And then with that seed of you who you are and who he is, you stay there because it's home, that's happiness, and the other is not. And that's how love grows. And grows and grows and grows and grows. And then you become like a madman. Not caring for outsiders. We have ways to go, right? So then for now we practice. Hear this through sound vibration primarily, that consciousness grows. My life is, the purpose of my life is. I mean, not just because a book says it, but it's who I am. I'm meant for pleasing Krishna. Then love. The door of love opens. A little bit at least. And then a little more, then a little more. Because that's real happiness, so you like it. It's yummy. A lot more. Then it becomes spontaneous, etc. Raga, bhakti.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Go for it, right? Something over here? Ladies' side? Upananda, you have something in the front?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Can we say that one doesn't know Krishna fully unless he surrenders? Because I'm thinking of this verse, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante.
Yes.
Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
Correct. You can say that.
So surrender is the
surrender,
first
and
step.
surrender is a big word. There's many parts to surrender, but yes. And and an ongoing mood and manner, surrender. Place yourself again and again and again and again and non-stop in Krishna's hand to be engaged how he wants, without conditions. That's surrender. That's full surrender. Something else?
I have a follow-up question.
Okay, here's the microphone.
Can you also say, my understanding of surrender is to surrender to the Krishna's service that will be pleasing to Krishna. Is this a correct understanding?
Yes. If you were to leave that out, then it wouldn't be the correct understanding. We have another question? Yes, over here.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was just, I don't know how to present the question, but I was thinking about how Dhruva Maharaj did the meditation.
How Dhruva Maharaj did what?
Meditation.
Meditation.
And he got the
He did a lot of stuff.
Paramatma realization, and Krishna he came in front of him. So I was just thinking, like, how is it different from the other yogis who do the meditation and still they do not achieve Krishna?
Your question is how do we think of Dhruva different than other yogis that did similar things?
Yes.
That's your question?
Yes.
Well, there may be other yogis that not only did similar things, but also saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't hear so much about other personalities that may have happened, but there may very well have been yogis that happened. In that case, it's not so different. However, Dhruva, we know, is special or distinct in that after gaining his father's kingdom, etc., he attained ruling of Dhruvaloka. And Dhruvaloka is a really important place. It's not only, you're not likely to want to read 5th canto and understand Vedic cosmology. But if you were to read it, you would find that the universe moves based upon the ropes of air that extend from Dhruvaloka to the planets, and there's a wind that moves those ropes of air, and that's what keeps the planets circumambulating around the pole star in vertical dimensions above, higher and lower. So he has a very, very important place in the universe. While there may be yogis that did something similar and even had visions of Vishnu or something like that, he is pretty unique. Does that respond to your question? Those yoga performers or practitioners aspire for something similar. The methods they follow are something quite similar. What Narada gave him was the standard process, along with mantra. And Dhruva was like a super bhakta. He was a super motivated, materially bhakta, but he's a great example for moving from sakham bhakti to nishkam bhakti. So not all yogis achieve that. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Something else? No. Okay. We have one in the back, and I think we'll end here.
I was thinking also the yoga dharma that time was meditation. The yoga dharma that time was meditation. So
during Dhruva's time.
That's right.
Yes.
And everyone engaged in that process. But we can't do that at this age.
Yes, very good. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhupada Maharaj ki.